For the next 7 mornings, make one rule absolutely non-negotiable. Nothing from yesterday is allowed to speak before you do. Not the insult, not the regret, not the person who disappointed you, not the mistake you keep punishing yourself for. Because the most dangerous thing you can do after waking up is allow an old thought to decide the emotional temperature of a brand new day. Yesterday already took enough from you. Do not give it this morning too. Buddhism reveals that peace begins when you stop treating every thought as something worthy of your attention. Some thoughts deserve an answer, some deserve action, and some deserve nothing except silence. Learn that difference, and people can become difficult, plans can collapse, and life can become noisy without automatically becoming noisy inside you. 1. Do not carry yesterday into a new morning. Yesterday is already over, but the mind often keeps bringing old pain into a new day. You may wake up and immediately remember something someone said to you, a mistake you made, an argument that did not end well, or a situation you wish you could change. Even though the event is finished, your mind keeps replaying it, and each time you replay it, you feel the same anger, sadness, regret, or stress again. This is how yesterday quietly steals the peace of today. The problem is no longer happening in front of you, but your thoughts keep making it feel alive. Buddhism teaches impermanence, which means everything changes and nothing stays forever. Painful moments also pass, but we often keep them alive by holding on to them in our minds. When you wake up, remind yourself that this is a new morning. You cannot change what happened yesterday, but you can choose what you carry into today. If you made a mistake, learn from it. If you hurt someone, apologize if necessary. If someone hurt you, understand that you do not have to keep giving their actions space in your mind. Take the lesson from the experience, but do not keep carrying the pain. Letting go does not mean pretending nothing happened. It means accepting that what happened cannot be changed and refusing to punish yourself with it again and again. Your energy is better used on what you can do today. 2. Do not believe every thought that appears in your mind. Not every thought that enters your mind is true. Sometimes you wake up and your mind immediately starts creating negative stories. You may think something bad is going to happen, someone does not like you, you are falling behind in life, or you are not strong enough to handle a difficult situation. These thoughts can feel very real, but feeling real does not make them true. Many negative thoughts come from fear, past experiences, insecurity, stress, or comparison. If you have been disappointed before, your mind may expect another disappointment. If someone criticized you in the past, you may start believing that other people are judging you too. The mind often uses old experiences to predict what will happen next, even when there is no real proof. Buddhism teaches mindfulness, which means learning to notice your thoughts without automatically following them. When a negative thought appears, do not immediately accept it as reality. Instead of thinking, "I am going to fail," notice that your mind is creating fear about failure. Instead of thinking, "Nobody respects me," ask yourself whether you actually know that or whether your mind is making an assumption. You do not need to fight every negative thought or force yourself to think positively all the time. Simply notice the thought, understand where it may be coming from, and allow it to pass without giving it more energy. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to separate what is actually happening from what your fear is telling you. Thoughts will continue to come and go throughout the day. Some will be helpful and some will be harmful. Your peace grows when you understand that you can observe a thought without believing it, reacting to it, or allowing it to control your mood. 3. Protect the first hour of your mind. The first hour after you wake up is one of the most important parts of your day because your mind is still fresh, quiet, and sensitive to whatever you give it. But many people wake up and immediately fill their mind with noise. They check their phone, open social media, read messages, look at the news, and start thinking about work, problems, responsibilities, and other people's lives before they have even had a peaceful moment for themselves. Within a few minutes, the mind that was calm during sleep becomes crowded with stress, comparison, fear, and unnecessary thoughts. When you begin your morning this way every day, your mind slowly learns to wake up in a state of urgency. Instead of feeling grateful for a new day, you immediately feel that you are already behind. You see someone else's success and start comparing your life to theirs. You read a negative message and allow it to affect your mood. You see bad news and begin worrying about things you cannot control. Before you have even stepped outside, your peace has already been disturbed. Buddhism teaches us to be careful about what we give our attention to, because whatever we repeatedly focus on begins to shape our inner state. If you constantly feed your mind fear, conflict, comparison, and negativity first thing in the morning, it becomes much harder to remain peaceful throughout the day. This is why protecting the beginning of your morning is so important. You are not trying to hide from the world. You are simply giving yourself time to become mentally steady before the world starts demanding your attention. You do not need a complicated morning routine. Start with small and simple habits. Instead of reaching for your phone immediately, take a few slow breaths. Sit quietly for a few minutes and notice how you feel. Drink a glass of water, stretch your body, open the window, or step outside and feel the morning air. Allow your mind to wake up naturally instead of forcing it into stress the moment your eyes open. You can also use this quiet time to observe your thoughts. Notice what is already on your mind without judging yourself. Maybe you are worried about something later in the day. Maybe you are still carrying anger from yesterday. Maybe you feel tired or uncertain. Simply notice it. You do not have to solve everything immediately. Sometimes just becoming aware of what is happening inside you is enough to stop those feelings from controlling you. Try to avoid comparison during the first part of your day. Social media can make you feel as if everyone else is moving faster, achieving more, looking better, or living a happier life. But you are usually seeing only a small part of someone else's reality. Starting your morning by comparing your life to carefully chosen moments from other people's lives can create dissatisfaction before your own day has even started. Give yourself permission to begin your morning without measuring your life against anyone else's. Use the first hour to choose the kind of energy you want to carry into the day. Ask yourself simple questions such as, what deserves my attention today? What can I let go of? And how do I want to respond when something difficult happens? These questions help you move into the day with awareness instead of automatically reacting to everything around you. A peaceful morning does not mean you will have a perfect day. Problems may still appear. People may still disappoint you. Plans may still change. But when your mind begins the day calmly, you are in a much stronger position to handle those things without immediately losing your balance. You become less reactive because you have already created some space inside yourself before the noise begins. Protecting the first hour of your mind is really about protecting the direction of your day. The way you start often affects the way you continue. If you begin with panic, distraction, and comparison, you may carry that feeling for hours. If you begin with silence, awareness, and calmness, you give yourself a better chance to remain centered even when life becomes busy. Your attention is valuable. Do not give it away the moment you wake up. Give yourself some quiet time before answering messages, checking notifications, or entering other people's problems. Let your first thoughts belong to your own life. Let your morning begin slowly enough for you to remember that you do not have to rush mentally just because the world is already moving. Stop creating problems that have not happened yet. One of the biggest reasons people lose their peace in the morning is because the mind starts worrying about things that have not even happened yet. You wake up, and before the day has properly begun, your mind is already thinking about what could go wrong. Maybe you have an important meeting later. a difficult conversation, a financial problem, a decision to make, or something uncertain in your future. Instead of dealing with what is actually happening right now, the mind begins creating possible problems and treating them as if they are already real. You may think, what if I fail? What if they reject me? What if something goes wrong? What if I cannot handle it? These thoughts can quickly turn a peaceful morning into an anxious one. The strange thing is that none of these things may actually happen. You can spend hours feeling stressed about a future that exists only in your imagination. The mind naturally tries to protect you by thinking ahead, but sometimes it goes too far. It starts creating worst-case situations because it believes that worrying will somehow prepare you. But worrying is not the same as preparing. Preparation helps you take useful action. Worrying often makes you feel tired, afraid, and powerless before anything has even happened. Buddhism teaches the importance of returning to the present moment. The present is the only place where life is actually happening. Yesterday has already passed, and tomorrow has not arrived. Yet the mind often spends very little time in the present because it is constantly traveling between memories of the past and fears about the future. When you notice yourself worrying about something that may happen later, pause and ask yourself, is this problem happening right now? This simple question can bring you back to reality. Maybe the answer is no. Maybe right now you are simply sitting in your room, drinking tea, getting ready for work, or watching the morning light. The situation you fear is not here yet, but your body may already be reacting as if it is happening. This is why future worry can feel so exhausting. The mind creates the situation, and the body responds with real stress. Your heartbeat may increase, your breathing may become shallow, and your muscles may become tense. You can experience real suffering because of an event that has not taken place. Instead of trying to solve every possible future problem, focus on what you can actually do today. If you have a meeting, prepare what you need. If you have a difficult conversation, think calmly about what you want to say. If you have a financial problem, take one useful step towards solving it. After that, allow the future to remain in the future. There is a big difference between responsibility and overthinking. Responsibility says, I will do what I can. Overthinking says, I must know exactly how everything will turn out. But life does not give us that kind of certainty. No matter how much you think, plan, or worry, you cannot control every outcome. Learning to accept uncertainty is an important part of inner peace. You do not need to know everything that is going to happen. You only need enough clarity to take the next step. The path becomes clearer as you move forward. Trying to see the entire journey before taking one step can leave you standing still. Imagine you have something difficult to do later in the day. Your mind may begin rehearsing it again and again. You imagine the other person's reaction, what you will say, what they might say, and how badly it could end. By the time the real moment arrives, you have already experienced the situation many times in your head. You are mentally exhausted before anything has even happened. Instead, tell yourself, I will meet that moment when it arrives. This does not mean you are careless. It means you trust yourself enough to deal with reality when it appears, instead of fighting imaginary versions of it all morning. Many of the things you worried about in the past probably never happened the way you imagined. Think about how many nights you lost sleep over situations that eventually turned out to be manageable. Think about how many times you believed something would be terrible, only to discover that you handled it better than expected. Your past can teach you something important here. You are often stronger in the real moment than you are in your imagination. Fear tells you that you will not be able to handle what comes, but experience shows that when something actually happens, you usually find a way to respond. You do not have to feel completely confident about the future. You simply need to stop demanding certainty from it. Life has always included uncertainty, and it always will. Peace does not come from knowing exactly what tomorrow will bring. Peace comes from knowing that whatever tomorrow brings, you will deal with it one step at a time. When your mind starts creating a painful future, return your attention to something real. Feel your breathing. Notice your surroundings. Focus on the task in front of you. Remind yourself of what you can control and let go of what you cannot control. You can control your actions, your effort, your words, your attitude, and the choices you make today. You cannot completely control what other people will do, what unexpected events will happen, or how every situation will end. Trying to control those things mentally only creates more stress. Sometimes, the mind also creates problems out of silence. Someone does not reply to your message, and you immediately think they are angry. Someone seems quiet, and you assume you have done something wrong. A plan changes, and you start imagining that something terrible is happening. But silence does not always mean rejection, and uncertainty does not always mean danger. Learn to wait for facts before creating stories. Ask yourself, what do I actually know right now? Often, you will realize that your anxiety is based more on assumptions than reality. This practice can completely change the way you experience your mornings. Instead of waking up and carrying the entire future on your shoulders, you can give yourself permission to live only the part of life that has actually arrived. You do not need to solve next week today. You do not need to answer questions that life has not asked yet. You do not need to suffer through situations that may never happen. Deal with what is real, prepare where preparation is useful, and then return your attention to the present. The present moment may not be perfect, but it is usually much easier to handle than the future your fear creates. When you keep returning to what is happening now, your mind becomes quieter. You begin to understand that peace is not created by having a guaranteed future. It is created by refusing to live inside imaginary problems before they arrive. 5. Do not let other people's energy decide your mood. Every day, you will meet people who are carrying different emotions. Some will be calm and kind, while others may be stressed, impatient, rude, jealous, angry, or negative. The problem begins when you allow their mood to become your mood. Someone speaks badly to you in the morning, and you carry their words for the rest of the day. Someone ignores you, and you start questioning your value. Someone is angry, and suddenly you feel angry too. Without realizing it, you allow another person's emotional state to take control of your inner peace. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that we cannot control how other people behave, but we can become more aware of how we respond. This is important because if your peace depends on everyone around you being kind, respectful, and understanding, then your peace will always be fragile. There will always be someone having a bad day. There will always be someone who misunderstands you. There will always be people who speak without thinking, react from their own pain, or bring unnecessary negativity into a situation. You cannot remove all of that from life, but you can learn not to absorb everything. Imagine someone speaks to you harshly. Your first reaction may be anger. You may want to defend yourself immediately, prove them wrong, or say something equally hurtful. But if you react without awareness, you are allowing their emotional state to decide your behavior. They are angry, so now you become angry. They are impatient, so now you become impatient. They lose control, and you lose control with them. This is how one person's negativity becomes two people's suffering. Instead, create a small space between what happens and how you respond. You do not have to answer every rude comment immediately. You do not have to defend yourself against every opinion. Sometimes a few seconds of silence can protect you from hours of regret. When you pause, you give yourself time to choose your response, instead of letting emotion choose it for you. This does not mean becoming weak or allowing people to disrespect you. Peace is not weakness. You can still speak clearly, set boundaries, say no, or remove yourself from unhealthy situations. The difference is that you do these things from a calm mind instead of from uncontrolled anger. A calm boundary is often stronger than an emotional argument because you are not trying to hurt the other person. You are simply protecting yourself. It also helps to remember that people's behavior often comes from what is happening inside them. Someone may be short-tempered because they are under pressure. Someone may criticize everything because they are deeply insecure. Someone may try to make you feel small because they do not feel secure within themselves. Understanding this does not mean you have to accept bad behavior. It simply helps you stop taking everything personally. Not everything people do is about you. This is a powerful lesson to remember. Someone may not reply because they are busy. Someone may look upset because they are dealing with their own problems. Someone may seem distant because they are tired. The mind often creates personal stories around other people's behavior, and those stories can disturb your peace more than the situation itself. You may think, "Why are they treating me this way?" or "What did I do wrong?" Sometimes there is something you need to address, but other times there is nothing to solve. You are simply standing near someone who is having a difficult moment. Learning to recognize the difference can save you a great deal of unnecessary stress. Another important part of protecting your peace is refusing to carry people's words longer than necessary. Someone may say something rude to you for 10 seconds, but you may replay it in your mind for 10 hours. You imagine what you should have said. You think about how disrespectful they were. You tell yourself the story again and again. The original moment was short, but your mind keeps it alive. This is where you must become careful. The first pain may come from what they said, but the second pain comes from how long you continue feeding the memory. You cannot always stop someone from saying something hurtful, but you can stop giving their words free space in your mind all day. Ask yourself, do I really want this person's behavior to control the next several hours of my life? Most of the time, the answer will be no. You have too many important things to give your attention to. Your peace, your health, your work, your family, your goals, and your own growth deserve more energy than a stranger's rude comment or another person's bad mood. You also need to be careful around people who constantly bring negativity into your life. Some people complain about everything. Every conversation becomes about problems, gossip, criticism, or drama. If you spend enough time around this energy, it can slowly affect the way you think. You may begin seeing problems everywhere because that is what you are constantly hearing. Compassion does not mean you must listen to endless negativity. You can care about someone and still protect your mind. You can support people without becoming responsible for every emotion they experience. You can be kind without allowing their chaos to become your chaos. Sometimes protecting your peace means changing the subject. Sometimes it means spending less time around certain conversations. Sometimes it means saying, "I cannot talk about this right now," and sometimes it simply means listening without carrying the conversation home with you. The same lesson applies online. You can wake up feeling peaceful and lose that peace within minutes because of comments, arguments, opinions, or negative news. You may not even know the people involved, yet their anger enters your mind and affects your mood. This is why you must be selective about what you allow into your attention. Your mind does not need to react to everything it sees. You do not need an opinion about every argument. You do not need to defend yourself to every stranger. You do not need to enter every discussion just because it appears in front of you. Sometimes peace comes from simply deciding, "This does not need my energy." A peaceful mind learns to choose its battles carefully. Not every disagreement deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding needs a long explanation. Not every person needs to understand you. There will be times when you can explain yourself perfectly and someone will still choose to misunderstand you. At that point, continuing to argue will not create peace. It will only drain you. You must learn when to speak and when to let go. Speak when something truly matters. Speak when a boundary is needed. Speak when silence would allow real harm. But when the situation is only about ego, proving yourself, or winning an argument, ask whether your peace is worth more than being right. Often, it is. Another powerful practice is to stop making other people's approval responsible for your mood. If someone praises you, you feel good. If someone criticizes you, you feel terrible. If someone notices you, you feel important. If they ignore you, you feel invisible. Living this way gives other people too much control over your emotional life. Your sense of worth has to become more stable than that. Praise can feel good, but you should not depend on it. Criticism may hurt, but it should not destroy you. You can listen to useful feedback without turning every opinion into a judgment of your entire value. Ask yourself whether the criticism is true and useful. If it is, learn from it. If it is unfair or meaningless, let it pass. You do not need to carry every opinion as if it were a fact. The more you practice this, the more emotionally independent you become. You begin to understand that another person's anger belongs to them, another person's opinion belongs to them, and another person's mood belongs to them. You can witness these things without making them your own. This creates a very different kind of peace. You stop waking up afraid of who might upset you today. You stop giving every difficult person the power to ruin your mood. You start moving through the day with more stability because your inner state is no longer controlled by every changing emotion around you. People will still disappoint you sometimes. Someone may still say something rude. Someone may misunderstand you, judge you, or bring negativity into your day. But you do not have to follow them emotionally. You can notice what happened, respond wisely if necessary, and then return to yourself. Your peace is your responsibility. Protect it carefully. Do not hand it to every person you meet and hope they treat it gently. Learn to keep your center even when someone else has lost theirs. That is one of the strongest forms of emotional freedom. 6. Release the need for everything to go your way. A peaceful mind does not come from having a perfect day. It comes from learning how to stay calm when the day does not go the way you expected. Many people wake up with a clear picture of how everything should happen. They expect certain people to behave a certain way, certain plans to work exactly as planned, certain conversations to go smoothly, and certain results to appear at the right time. But life does not always follow our expectations, and when reality moves in a different direction, frustration begins. You may plan to have a productive morning, but something unexpected happens. Someone calls you with a problem. Your internet stops working. A meeting is delayed. Someone cancels an appointment. You receive news you were not expecting. A person does not respond the way you hoped. Suddenly, the peaceful day you imagined starts feeling completely different. The problem is not always the change itself. Much of the suffering comes from the thought, "This was not supposed to happen." We often create a picture in our minds of how life should behave, and then we become angry when life refuses to follow that picture. We think people should understand us, traffic should move faster, plans should never change, family members should act differently, co-workers should behave better, and every effort should produce the result we expect. But when peace depends on everything happening exactly the way we want, peace becomes very difficult to protect. Buddhist wisdom teaches us to understand attachment. Attachment is not only holding tightly to people or possessions, we can also become attached to expectations. We can become attached to a certain outcome, a certain plan, a certain response, or a certain version of the future. The stronger we hold on to that expectation, the more painful it can feel when reality becomes different. Imagine that you expect someone to call you in the morning, but they do not call. The simple reality is that the phone did not ring, but the mind may add many painful thoughts to that situation. You may think, "They do not care about me, they are ignoring me, I must have done something wrong. Why do people always treat me this way?" Within a few minutes, one small event becomes a large emotional problem. This happens because the mind does not only experience reality, It also experiences the story it creates around reality. When something does not go your way, try to separate these two things. Ask yourself, what actually happened, and what story am I adding to it? This question can help you see that sometimes the event itself is manageable, but your expectations are making it feel much heavier. Acceptance is one of the most useful practices for protecting your peace. Acceptance does not mean that you like everything that happens. It does not mean you agree with unfair treatment or stop trying to improve your life. Acceptance simply means recognizing what is already happening instead of wasting energy arguing with reality inside your mind. If it begins raining when you plan to go outside, the rain is already happening. Becoming angry at the sky does not stop it. If someone changes their mind, their decision has already changed. Repeating, "They should not have done that," may keep you angry, but it does not change the situation. If a plan fails, mentally fighting the fact that it failed does not repair it. You still have to decide what to do next. A calmer response is to say, "This is what is happening now. What can I do from here?" That question moves your mind away from resistance and toward wisdom. Instead of using all your energy wishing reality were different, you begin using that energy to make the best decision available to you. There is great strength in being able to adjust. Some people believe being strong means forcing everything to happen their way, but real strength often looks different. Real strength is being able to change direction without emotionally collapsing. It is staying calm when a plan changes. It is accepting disappointment without allowing it to destroy the entire day. It is understanding that one unexpected event does not mean everything is going wrong. Think about water flowing through a river. Water does not stop every time it meets a stone. It moves around it. If the path changes, the water adjusts. It continues moving without spending energy wishing the stone was somewhere else. This is a useful way to think about life. You will meet obstacles, but you do not have to fight every obstacle emotionally. Sometimes you simply need to adjust and continue. This is especially important when dealing with other people. One of the biggest causes of stress is expecting people to behave exactly the way we believe they should. We expect them to understand our feelings, appreciate our efforts, communicate clearly, remember important things, respond quickly, and make choices that make sense to us. But every person has their own mind, history, fears, habits, and priorities. You cannot completely control another person's behavior. You can communicate clearly and treat people well, but you cannot force them to think the way you think. When you understand this, many unnecessary arguments begin to disappear. You stop spending so much energy trying to control reactions that are not yours to control. For example, you may explain yourself honestly and someone still misunderstands you. You can explain again if it is important, but eventually you may have to accept that you cannot control their interpretation. You may treat someone with kindness, and they may still be cold toward you. You may work hard, and someone may still fail to appreciate your effort. These things can hurt, but your peace becomes stronger when you stop demanding that everyone respond exactly as you want. This does not mean having no standards. It is healthy to expect respect in relationships and responsibility in important situations. You can set boundaries and make decisions based on how people treat you. The lesson is not to become passive. The lesson is to stop believing that your emotional stability should depend on your ability to control other people's choices. The same is true with results. You may work hard towards something and still not receive the result you wanted. You may prepare carefully for an opportunity and still be rejected. You may give your best effort to a project and discover that it does not succeed. It is natural to feel disappointed, but disappointment becomes much heavier when you tell yourself, "Because this did not work, everything is ruined." One result does not define your entire life. One closed door does not mean there will never be another opportunity. One plan failing does not mean your effort was useless. Sometimes the outcome teaches you something you could not have learned if everything had gone perfectly. When you release the need for every outcome to match your expectations, you become more open to learning. Instead of immediately labeling something as a disaster, you can ask, "What is this situation showing me?" Maybe you need a different approach. Maybe your timing was wrong. Maybe you were depending too much on one possibility. Maybe something that feels disappointing today will later lead you in a better direction. You do not always know immediately whether something is good or bad for your life. Sometimes an event that feels terrible in the moment later becomes the reason you changed, grew, or discovered something better. This is why it can be helpful not to judge every unexpected event too quickly. Your mind may say, "This is terrible," but a wiser response can be, "I do not like this, but I do not yet know where it will lead." That small change in thinking creates space. You are no longer forcing yourself to see the situation positively, but you are also not assuming that one difficult moment has destroyed your future. Another reason people become disturbed is because they expect themselves to perform perfectly every day. You may wake up with a long list of things you want to complete. If you finish everything, you feel good about yourself. If you fall behind, you become frustrated and start criticizing yourself. You may think, "I wasted the day. I am lazy. I should have done more." But not every day will have the same energy. Some mornings you will feel focused and strong. Other mornings you may feel tired, distracted, or emotionally heavy. Life may interrupt you. Responsibilities may appear that were not part of your plan. Learning to adjust your expectations does not mean giving up discipline. It means understanding that discipline must exist together with reality. Do what you can with the day you actually have, not the perfect day you imagined. If your plan needs to change it without turning the change into a personal failure. If you need rest, rest with awareness rather than guilt. If you only complete half of what you planned, appreciate what you did and continue tomorrow. There is no need to destroy your peace because reality required you to adjust. Another powerful practice is to notice how often the word "should" appears in your thoughts. They should have called me. This should be easier. I should already be successful. My life should look different. People should understand me. This should not be happening. Sometimes these thoughts point to something useful, but many times they are simply signs that your mind is arguing with what already exists. When you notice yourself saying "should," pause and replace it with a question. Instead of "this should not be happening," ask, "Since this is happening, what is the best response?" Instead of "they should understand me," ask, "Have I communicated clearly, and what can I control from here?" Instead of "I should be further ahead," ask, "What useful step can I take today?" This moves you from frustration toward action. You may also notice that much of your stress comes from trying to control very small things. You become irritated because someone is moving too slowly, because a line is long, because your food takes longer than expected, because a website is loading slowly, or because something minor changes your schedule. These moments may seem small, but when you react strongly to each one, they can make the entire day feel stressful. Use these small moments as practice. When something minor does not go your way, notice the reaction inside you. Feel the impatience without immediately following it. Take a breath and remind yourself, "This is not worth losing my peace over." The more you practice with small inconveniences, the stronger you become when bigger problems appear. Traffic can become practice. Waiting can become practice. Delays can become practice. A changed plan can become practice. A difficult person can become practice. Every time life refuses to follow your preference, you have an opportunity to strengthen your ability to remain calm. This does not mean you will never feel irritated again. You are human. Emotions will still appear. The goal is not to become someone who never experiences frustration. The goal is to notice frustration before it takes control of your whole mind. You can feel disappointed without becoming hopeless. You can feel angry without becoming cruel. You can feel uncertain without becoming panicked. You can dislike what is happening without allowing it to destroy your inner balance. This is where freedom begins. Many people are waiting for life to become peaceful before they allow themselves to feel peaceful. They tell themselves they will relax when they have enough money, when their relationship improves, when work becomes easier, when their family changes, when the problem disappears, or when everything finally feels stable. But life keeps changing. One problem ends and another appears. One responsibility finishes and another begins. If you wait for a life where nothing unexpected ever happens, you may wait forever. Instead, build a mind that can remain steady inside an imperfect life. This is much more powerful. Your goal is not to create a world where nothing disturbs you. Your goal is to become more aware of what you allow to disturb you. When something changes today, notice your first reaction. Maybe your mind immediately says, "No, this cannot happen." Pause. Take one slow breath. Look at the situation as clearly as possible. Ask yourself what is within your control and what is not. If something is within your control, act on it calmly. If it is outside your control, practice releasing your resistance to it. You may not like it, but you do not have to spend the entire day fighting it mentally. You cannot control the weather, but you can change your plans. You cannot control another person's mood, but you can choose your response. You cannot control every result, but you can control your effort. You cannot control every delay, but you can decide whether the delay becomes 15 minutes of waiting or 15 minutes of anger. The event and your response are not the same thing. This understanding can bring enormous peace into your mornings. You stop waking up with the demand that the world must cooperate with you today. Instead, you wake up with a calmer attitude. I have plans, but I am willing to adjust. I have goals, but I cannot control every result. I know how I want the day to go, but I will not destroy my peace if life chooses a different path. Seichi. That is not weakness, it is wisdom. Life becomes easier when you stop needing every moment to match your expectations. You become less afraid of change because you trust your ability to adjust. You become less angry with people because you understand you cannot control them. You become less disappointed by unexpected events because you stop believing that one change means everything has gone wrong. You begin to move through life with a softer grip. You still care. You still work hard. You still make plans and pursue meaningful goals. But you no longer hold every expectation so tightly that a small change can break your peace. This is one of the deepest forms of calmness. Wanting something without believing you must have it. Making a plan without believing it must happen exactly that way. And facing change without allowing it to control your entire emotional state. When your morning begins, remind yourself that today may not go exactly as planned. Someone may surprise you. Something may be delayed. A problem may appear. A plan may change. But none of these things automatically have the power to ruin your day. You can meet each moment as it comes, adjust when necessary, and continue moving forward with a peaceful mind. 7. Begin every morning with gratitude before desire. One of the fastest ways to lose your peace in the morning is to wake up thinking only about what is missing from your life. Before you even leave your bed, the mind can begin creating a list of everything you do not have yet. More money, more success, more attention, a better relationship, a better body, a better job, more respect, more progress, more opportunities, or a completely different life. When this becomes your first habit every morning, you begin each day from a feeling of lack. You may have many good things around you, but your mind does not notice them because it is focused on what is still missing. You may have food, a safe place to sleep, people who care about you, another day to improve your life, and the ability to make new choices. But none of these things feel important when the mind is constantly saying, I need more before I can be happy. This is where gratitude becomes powerful. Gratitude does not mean pretending that your life is perfect. It does not mean ignoring problems, giving up your goals, or convincing yourself that you should never want anything better. You can still have dreams. You can still improve your life. You can still work toward money, health, relationships, success, and personal growth. Gratitude simply means that while you are moving toward what you want, you also learn to recognize what you already have. Without gratitude, desire never ends. You reach one goal and immediately begin thinking about the next one. You get something you once wanted badly, but after a short time it becomes normal. Then your mind searches for something else to chase. This can continue for years. You keep achieving more, buying more, reaching more, and still feel as if something is missing. The problem is not always that life has given you too little. Sometimes the problem is that your mind has stopped noticing what life has already given you. Buddhist wisdom encourages awareness of the present moment because peace becomes difficult when the mind is always somewhere else. Desire constantly pulls the mind into the future. It says, "I will be happy when this happens. I will finally relax when I have that. I will feel complete when I reach this goal." But when that moment arrives, the mind often creates another condition. Then happiness is delayed again. You may remember things you once prayed for or deeply wanted that are now ordinary parts of your life. Maybe you once wished for the phone you now complain about. Maybe you once wanted the job you now find stressful. Maybe there was a time when you wanted certain opportunities that you now barely notice. Human beings quickly become used to what they have, and this is why gratitude must be practiced intentionally. When you wake up, try not to make your first thought a complaint. Before thinking about what is wrong, notice what is still working. You are awake. A new day has arrived. You are breathing without having to command your lungs. Your heart has continued working through the night. You still have the ability to think, learn, choose, and change something about your life. These things may sound simple, but simple does not mean unimportant. Many of the most valuable things in life become invisible because we experience them every day. Consider your body. Most people spend more time criticizing their body than appreciating what it allows them to do. You may look in the mirror and immediately notice what you dislike. But rarely do you stop and appreciate your eyes for allowing you to see, your hands for allowing you to hold things, your legs for carrying you through the day, or your lungs for continuing to breathe. You do not need to love every part of your appearance to be grateful for your body. You can want to become healthier while still appreciating what your body does for you today. This is the balance gratitude creates. It allows improvement without self-hatred. The same is true with money. You may want more financial security, and that is understandable. But if you constantly look only at people who have more than you may begin believing you have nothing. Comparison can make a person feel poor, even when many of their basic needs are being met. Gratitude does not tell you to stop improving your financial life. It simply stops comparison from stealing your ability to recognize what you already have. Maybe you have a meal today. Maybe you have clean water. Maybe you have clothes. Maybe you have a place where you can sleep safely. Maybe you have access to knowledge that people in earlier generations could never have imagined. These things deserve awareness, even while you continue working towards something better. Relationships are another area where gratitude can completely change your perspective. The mind often focuses on the people who disappointed us, while forgetting the people who quietly support us. One person may hurt you, and suddenly all your attention goes toward them. Meanwhile, someone who consistently cares about you receives almost no attention because their kindness has become familiar. Think about the people who check on you, listen to you, help you, encourage you, or simply make your life a little easier. You do not need a large circle of people to be grateful. Sometimes one trustworthy person is more valuable than hundreds of shallow connections. When you appreciate people while they are still present, your relationships become different. You become less likely to take kindness for granted. You become more patient. You say thank you more often. You notice small efforts that you previously ignored. Gratitude is not only something you feel, it can become something you express. Tell people you appreciate them. Thank someone when they help you. Notice when a person makes an effort. Do not wait until someone is gone to understand how valuable their presence was. Morning gratitude can also help protect you from comparison. Comparison is one of the easiest ways to poison a peaceful mind. You may wake up feeling fine, open your phone, and within minutes see someone who seems richer, happier, more attractive, more successful, or further ahead than you. Then your own life suddenly feels smaller. Nothing in your life actually changed. You simply looked at someone else's life and began judging yours differently. This is why gratitude is such a strong protection against comparison. When you are deeply aware of what matters in your own life, another person's success does not automatically make you feel unsuccessful. You can appreciate what they have without using it as evidence that your life is not enough. Someone else's chapter does not cancel your progress. Their timing is not your timing. Their opportunities are not your opportunities. Their struggles may also be very different from what you can see. You do not need to compete with every person you observe. Instead, return to your own life and ask, what is good here that I have stopped noticing? That question can change your entire state of mind. You may realize that your life contains many small forms of peace that you have been overlooking. The quiet before everyone wakes up, the warmth of sunlight entering your room, a cup of tea, the sound of rain, a conversation with someone you love, a simple meal, a few minutes without responsibilities, a healthy body part you never think about, a comfortable place to sit. These moments may not look impressive online, but they are life. If you keep waiting only for big achievements before allowing yourself to feel grateful, you may miss most of your life. Peace is often hidden inside ordinary moments. The difficulty is that the mind loves dramatic things. It notices problems very quickly because problems demand attention. A bad message can stay in your mind all day, while 10 peaceful moments pass almost unnoticed. Gratitude trains your mind to notice what is good, with the same seriousness that it notices what is wrong. This does not happen automatically. You have to practice it. When you wake up, before checking your phone, think of 3 simple things you are grateful for. They do not need to be impressive. In fact, the simpler they are, the better. You might be grateful that you slept safely. You might be grateful that someone you love is still in your life. You might be grateful for the opportunity to start again today. You might be grateful that you learned something from yesterday. You might be grateful that you have enough strength to take one more step. The purpose is not to create fake positivity. The purpose is to remind the mind that reality contains more than problems. If you are going through a difficult period, gratitude may feel harder. You may think, how am I supposed to be grateful when so much is going wrong? This is where gratitude becomes even more meaningful. You do not need to be grateful for the painful situation itself. You can be grateful for what still remains despite the pain. If you are going through heartbreak, you can be grateful for the person who listens to you. If you are struggling financially, you can be grateful for the skills and opportunities you still have. If you are feeling lost, you can be grateful that you still have another day to find direction. If you made a mistake, you can be grateful that you are aware enough to learn from it. Gratitude does not deny suffering. It simply refuses to let suffering become the only thing you can see. This is an important difference. A peaceful mind is not a mind that says, nothing is wrong. A peaceful mind can say, something is difficult, but difficulty is not the whole story. That is a much stronger form of positivity because it is based on reality. There may be pain and still be love. There may be uncertainty and still be opportunity. There may be disappointment and still be another chance. There may be problems and still be moments of peace. Two things can be true at the same time. You do not need to wait for every problem to disappear before appreciating your life. Another important lesson is to stop beginning each morning with demands. Sometimes we wake up mentally telling life what it must give us today. We want people to treat us perfectly. We want good news. We want progress. We want everything to work out. When the day does not deliver what we expected, we feel disappointed. Try beginning the morning differently. Instead of asking, "What am I going to get today?" ask, "What can I appreciate today?" Instead of asking, "Who will make me feel good?" ask, "How can I bring calmness into the situations I enter?" Instead of asking, "Will today go perfectly?" ask, "Can I meet today with awareness?" This changes your relationship with life. You stop treating each day like a transaction where happiness depends on receiving exactly what you want. You begin participating in the day more consciously. Gratitude can also reduce the feeling that you are always behind. Many people wake up with the pressure that they should already have achieved more. They compare their age, career, money, relationship status, body, or lifestyle with someone else's and feel late. This creates unnecessary suffering because there is no single schedule that every human being must follow. Your life is not a race with everyone you see. Some people succeed early and struggle later. Some struggle early and find their direction later. Some change careers. Some start over. Some discover what matters to them after years of following the wrong path. Instead of waking up thinking, "I should be further ahead," try thinking, "I am grateful that I still have time to move forward." That one change removes shame and replaces it with possibility. You are not pretending that you have reached your goals. You are simply refusing to hate your current position while moving toward them. You can want more without hating what you have. You can improve yourself without rejecting who you are today. You can build a better future without treating the present like an enemy. This is one of the healthiest forms of ambition. Without gratitude, ambition can become endless dissatisfaction. Nothing feels enough. Every success becomes temporary. Every achievement immediately creates another target. With gratitude, ambition becomes calmer. You work hard because you value your life, not because you believe your life is worthless until you achieve something. This difference matters. One person says, "I need success so I can finally feel valuable." Another says, "I am grateful for the life I have, and I want to use it well." Both people may work hard, but their inner experience is completely different. The first is driven by fear and lack. The second is driven by appreciation and purpose. Morning gratitude also teaches you to slow down. When you are constantly chasing the next thing, you rush through everything. You eat while thinking about work. You speak to someone while thinking about your phone. You finish one task while worrying about the next. You are physically present but mentally somewhere else. Gratitude brings you back. When you drink your morning tea or coffee, actually taste it. When someone you care about speaks to you, listen. When you step outside, notice the air. When you have a quiet moment, do not immediately fill it with noise. Allow ordinary experiences to become complete experiences. This is mindfulness in daily life. You do not need a special place or a complicated practice to become more present. You can begin by giving full attention to simple things. When you eat, eat. When you walk, walk. When you listen, listen. When you rest, rest. The mind becomes peaceful when it stops trying to live 10 moments at once. Gratitude and presence naturally support each other. You cannot deeply appreciate something you are not paying attention to. This is why a distracted life often becomes an ungrateful life. You move too quickly to notice what you have. Then, one day, something disappears, and suddenly you understand its value. You lose your health, and realize how valuable an ordinary healthy day was. Someone moves away, and you understand how important their presence was. A peaceful period ends, and you realize how beautiful it was. Wisdom is learning to recognize value before loss teaches it to you. You do not have to become afraid of losing everything. That would create more anxiety. Instead, use impermanence as a reminder to appreciate what is here now. Buddhism teaches that everything changes. People change, bodies change, circumstances change, relationships change, life itself changes from moment to moment. This can sound frightening, but it can also make life more meaningful. Because things are temporary, they deserve attention. Because this morning will never happen again, be present for it. Because the people you love will not always be exactly as they are today, appreciate them now. Because your body is changing, care for it now. Because opportunities change, use them wisely now. Impermanence is not only a reason to let go, it is also a reason to be grateful. The temporary nature of life makes ordinary moments valuable. You may also discover that gratitude makes your problems easier to face. A mind focused entirely on what is wrong often feels powerless. But when you remember what is still available to you, you begin seeing resources. You may still have intelligence, you may still have experience, you may still have supportive people, you may still have time, you may still have the ability to ask for help, you may still have another attempt. These things give you strength. This is why gratitude is not weakness or passive thinking. It can make you more capable of handling difficulty because it reminds you that you are not starting from nothing. Even during difficult seasons, something often remains that can help you take the next step. When morning arrives, resist the urge to immediately search for reasons to be dissatisfied. The mind already knows how to find problems. You do not need to train it to do that. Train it to notice balance. Yes, there are things you want to improve, and there are things worth appreciating. Yes, there may be uncertainty, and there is still this moment. Yes, some people may have disappointed you, and there may also be people who genuinely care. Yes, you may not be where you want to be, and you have still traveled farther than you sometimes remember. Look back for a moment and notice what you have already survived. There were days you thought you would never get through. You got through them. There were problems that once occupied your entire mind. Many of them eventually passed. There were moments when you did not know what to do next. Somehow, you continued. You can be grateful not only for what life has given you, but also for the strength you have developed while living through it. Sometimes the thing worth appreciating is your own growth. Maybe you are more patient than you used to be. Maybe you have learned to leave situations that damage your peace. Maybe you recover faster after disappointment. Maybe you understand yourself better. Maybe you are learning not to react to everything. These changes may be quiet, but they matter. Growth is not always dramatic. Sometimes growth is simply noticing that something which once ruined your whole day now only bothers you for 10 minutes. Sometimes growth is choosing silence instead of an argument. Sometimes growth is resting without feeling guilty. Sometimes growth is forgiving yourself more quickly. Notice these things. Gratitude should include your progress, not only your possessions. And when you do have goals, let gratitude walk beside them. Say, I am grateful for where I am, and I am still moving forward. That sentence contains both peace and ambition. You do not have to choose between appreciating your life and improving it. You can do both. In fact, improvement often becomes healthier when it grows from appreciation. You take care of your body because you are grateful for it. You manage your money because you respect what you have. You protect your relationships because you appreciate the people in them. You use your time carefully because you understand its value. Gratitude makes you less careless with what life has already placed in your hands. At the end of the morning, you may still have responsibilities waiting for you. There may be work to do, problems to solve, conversations to have, and goals to pursue. Gratitude does not remove those things. It changes the state of mind you carry into them. Instead of beginning the day feeling empty, you begin with a sense that something is already enough. Instead of beginning with comparison, you begin with awareness. Instead of beginning with demands, you begin with appreciation. Instead of thinking, "My life must change before I can feel peaceful," you begin understanding that peace can exist while change is still happening. This is a powerful realization. You do not have to wait until you have everything you want before you allow yourself to enjoy being alive. There will always be another goal. There will always be something you could improve. There will always be someone with more. If you keep placing peace on the other side of the next achievement, peace will keep moving away from you. So every morning, before desire begins speaking loudly, give gratitude the first voice. Notice one thing that is still good. Notice one person you appreciate. Notice one ability you still have. Notice one opportunity this new day gives you. Let your mind understand that your life is not empty simply because it is unfinished. Your life can be unfinished and still be meaningful. It can be imperfect and still contain beauty. It can be difficult and still contain moments worth appreciating. When you begin seeing life this way, your mornings become lighter. You stop waking up feeling as though you must immediately chase something in order to become complete. You begin the day knowing that you can pursue more without forgetting the value of what is already here. That is the peace gratitude gives you. It reminds you that happiness is not only waiting somewhere in the future. Some of it is already around you, quietly waiting for your attention. 8. Do not let one bad moment control your whole day. One of the easiest ways to lose your peace is to allow one small negative moment to become the meaning of your entire day. Something goes wrong in the morning. Someone says something rude. You receive disappointing news. You make a mistake, or a plan does not work out. And suddenly your mind says, "Today is terrible." From that moment, everything begins to feel heavier because you are no longer responding only to what happened. You are carrying the belief that the whole day has been ruined. But one difficult moment is only one moment. It does not deserve control over everything that comes after it. You may wake up peacefully, get ready for your day, and then something unexpected happens. Maybe you spill your drink, forget something important, miss a bus, receive a frustrating message, or have an argument with someone. The event may last only a few minutes, but if you keep replaying it, talking about it, and thinking about it, those few minutes can affect the next 5 or 6 hours. This is how the mind turns a small problem into a large emotional experience. Buddhist wisdom teaches us to notice each moment as it is, instead of connecting every moment into one painful story. If something difficult happens at 8 in the morning, it does not automatically mean 9 o'clock will be difficult. If someone upsets you before breakfast, it does not mean lunch must also be stressful. If you make one mistake, it does not mean everything else you do today will go wrong. Each moment gives you another opportunity to begin again. This is very important because the mind likes to make quick judgments. When one thing goes wrong, it starts looking for more proof that the day is bad. A small delay happens and you become more irritated by traffic. Someone does not answer your message, and now you begin noticing every other little thing that annoys you. By the end of the day, you may feel that everything went wrong, even though perhaps only a few things actually did. The mind often finds what it is looking for. If you tell yourself, "Today is a terrible day," your attention begins searching for problems. You notice every inconvenience. You remember every rude person. You focus on what you did not accomplish. Meanwhile, peaceful moments pass without receiving the same attention. This is why it is helpful to stop labeling the entire day too early. Instead of saying, "Today is bad," say, "That was a difficult moment." Instead of saying, "Everything is going wrong," say, "One thing did not go the way I wanted." Instead of saying, "My whole morning is ruined," say, "That happened, and now I can continue." These small changes in language can create a big difference in your mind. Your words affect the way you experience reality. When you use extreme words such as always, never, everything, and nothing, the mind begins making situations feel bigger than they really are. You may say, "Nothing ever works for me," when in reality one plan failed. You may say, "Everyone is against me," when one person disappointed you. You may say, "I always ruin things," because you made one mistake. Be careful with these thoughts. A peaceful mind tries to see situations clearly rather than dramatically. If something went wrong, admit that it went wrong. You do not have to pretend you enjoyed it. You do not have to force yourself to smile. But try not to turn one event into a story about your entire life. Suppose someone says something hurtful to you in the morning. Naturally, you may feel upset. Your feelings are real. But after the situation ends, your mind may continue creating conversations. You imagine what you should have said. You imagine confronting the person again. You repeat their words in your head. Now the person is no longer speaking, but their voice is still inside your mind. This is where you can practice letting go. Ask yourself, is this situation still happening, or am I keeping it alive? Sometimes this question is enough to wake you up from hours of unnecessary thinking. You may realize that the actual event lasted 3 minutes, but you have been suffering from it for 3 hours. This does not mean painful experiences should always be forgotten immediately. Some situations need to be addressed, discussed, or solved. But there is a difference between taking useful action and repeatedly replaying the same emotional story. Useful action might mean having a calm conversation later. Useful action might mean setting a boundary. Useful action might mean correcting your mistake. Useful action might mean learning something and changing your behavior. Repeating the same thought without taking action usually creates suffering, not solutions. Another common problem is carrying one person's behavior into your interactions with everyone else. Someone is rude to you, and then you become impatient with another person who did nothing wrong. You receive stressful news and then speak harshly to your family. Your boss frustrates you, and you bring that frustration home. This is how negativity spreads. One person gives you anger, and without realizing it, you hand that anger to someone else. A peaceful mind learns to stop the chain. You can say to yourself, "This feeling started there. I do not need to carry it into the next conversation." That is a powerful form of awareness. Imagine how different your life becomes when you stop passing pain forward. You may still feel upset, but you become responsible for where that emotion goes next. This does not mean suppressing your feelings. Suppression means pretending you are not angry when you are. Awareness means recognizing that you are angry and choosing not to let the anger control your behavior. You can say, "I am frustrated right now, so I should slow down before I speak." That simple awareness can prevent many problems. Sometimes you need a few minutes to reset yourself. Step away from the situation if possible. Take a walk, drink some water, sit quietly, breathe slowly, put your phone away. Allow your body to calm down before you continue the day. You do not need to solve your entire emotional state immediately. Sometimes your mind simply needs space. A few minutes of silence can stop one difficult experience from spreading into everything else. Buddhist mindfulness often brings attention back to the breath because the breath is always happening in the present moment. Your mind may be replaying what happened 20 minutes ago, but your breathing is happening now. Notice one breath entering, notice one breath leaving. You do not need to breathe in a special way, just notice it. This creates a small break in the stream of thinking. The event may still matter, but you are no longer completely trapped inside it. You begin realizing that there is a difference between what happened and who you are. A mistake happened. You are not the mistake. A rejection happened. You are not the rejection. Someone criticized you. Their criticism is not your identity. Something failed. Your entire life has not failed. This distinction is important. People often take temporary events and turn them into permanent identities. One unsuccessful attempt becomes, "I am a failure." One awkward conversation becomes, "I am bad with people." One bad financial decision becomes, "I will never be good with money." These labels create much more suffering than the original event. Instead, describe what happened without attacking yourself. Say, "I made a mistake," not, "I am stupid." Say, "That conversation did not go well." Not, "Nobody likes me." Say, "I did not get the result I wanted." Not, "Nothing works for me." The more accurate your language becomes, the calmer your mind becomes. Another useful practice is to ask yourself how important the situation will feel later. Will this still matter next week? Will it matter next month? Will it matter next year? Sometimes the answer is yes, and then the situation deserves careful attention. But many times, the answer is no. You may realize that you are giving enormous emotional energy to something that will soon become completely unimportant. A rude comment from a stranger may disappear from your life tomorrow. A small delay may mean nothing by the evening. A minor mistake may become a lesson you barely remember next month. This perspective can help you release things faster. Not everything deserves a permanent place in your mind. One of the reasons small problems feel large in the morning is because we often enter the day already mentally tired. Maybe you slept poorly. Maybe you are worried about something else. Maybe you have been under stress for several days. Then one small inconvenience becomes the final thing that pushes you into anger. When this happens, try to recognize the deeper cause. Ask yourself, am I really upset about this one thing, or am I carrying many other things too? This can help you respond with more understanding toward yourself. Maybe the spilled coffee is not really the problem. Maybe you are exhausted. Maybe the late message is not the real issue. Maybe you have been feeling ignored for weeks. Maybe the traffic is not the true source of your anger. Maybe you are already anxious about where you are going. Awareness helps you understand the difference between the trigger and the real emotion underneath it. When you understand what is actually happening inside you, you can respond more wisely. Another important lesson is to stop expecting yourself to recover instantly from every difficult moment. Peace does not mean you must become emotionless. Sometimes something happens and you genuinely need time. Give yourself that time without allowing the feeling to take ownership of the whole day. You might say, "I am upset right now, and that is okay. But I do not need to decide that everything is ruined." This is a balanced way to think. You respect your emotion without worshipping it. You allow yourself to feel something without allowing the feeling to become the only reality. Emotions are temporary. Anger rises and falls. Sadness rises and falls. Embarrassment rises and falls. Stress rises and falls. The problem is that when you are inside the emotion, it can feel permanent. Your mind may tell you, "I am going to feel like this all day." But you have seen emotions change many times before. You may wake up stressed and feel calm by afternoon. You may be angry at noon and laugh about something at dinner. You may feel disappointed in one moment and hopeful in the next. Your emotional state is always changing. Remembering this can stop you from believing that one bad moment defines what comes next. Buddhist teachings often remind us that everything is impermanent. This includes emotions. The feeling you have right now will change. You do not need to force it away. You simply need to avoid feeding it more than necessary. Imagine anger as a fire. The original event may create the first spark, but then your thoughts keep adding wood. You replay what happened. You imagine arguments. You tell yourself how unfair everything is. You speak about the event again and again. Each thought adds fuel. If you stop feeding the fire, it begins to weaken naturally. You do not need to stand over it screaming, Go away. Just stop adding fuel. This is one of the simplest ways to understand letting go. You cannot always control the spark, but you can become more aware of how much fuel you add after it appears. This is especially useful in the morning because the emotional direction of the early hours can easily spread through the rest of the day. If something goes wrong early, create a deliberate reset. Wash your face. Change your environment. Take a short walk. Clean your room. Listen to something calming. Do one small useful task. Sometimes changing what your body is doing helps change what your mind is doing. You do not have to remain in the same physical position where the stress started. Movement can help you remember that the moment is changing. You are not trapped. The day is still moving. You are still moving. Another useful method is to find one good thing after something negative happens. This is not about pretending the negative event did not matter. It is simply a way of stopping the mind from becoming completely focused on one side of reality. Maybe you received a disappointing message, but you also had a peaceful breakfast. Maybe you had an argument, but someone else showed you kindness. Maybe your plan failed, but you still learned something useful. Maybe you made a mistake, but you now know what to do differently. Life is rarely only good or only bad. Several things can exist together. Your mind becomes more balanced when you learn to see the whole picture. Some people unknowingly create an identity around having a bad day. They repeat the story to everyone they meet. You would not believe what happened this morning. Then they tell the story again at lunch, again in the evening, and again the next day. Every retelling strengthens the emotional memory. Sometimes sharing is helpful, especially when you genuinely need support. But notice whether talking about the problem is helping you process it or simply keeping it alive. There is a difference. Helpful sharing usually brings clarity. Repeated complaining often increases frustration. Ask yourself, after talking about something, do I feel clearer or do I feel more angry? If you feel more angry every time you repeat the story, perhaps the mind is not processing the experience. It is rehearsing it. You are allowed to stop telling the story. You are allowed to decide, that happened, and I do not want to carry it anymore. There is strength in ending a story before your mind wants to. Another important habit is to separate inconvenience from disaster. Modern life contains many small inconveniences, but the mind sometimes reacts to them as if they are emergencies. Your phone battery dies, a website does not work, someone is late, a delivery is delayed, your schedule changes, you forget something at home. These things can be frustrating, but ask yourself whether your emotional response matches the size of the problem. If a small inconvenience creates enormous anger, the emotional cost becomes much greater than the actual problem. You lose more peace than the situation deserves. Try saying, "This is inconvenient, but I can handle it." That sentence is simple, but it brings the situation back to its real size. Many things are frustrating without being terrible. Many things are uncomfortable without being dangerous. Many things are disappointing without being life-changing. Learning these differences can create a much calmer mind. You can also practice creating small mental checkpoints throughout the day. In the morning, ask, "What am I carrying right now?" At midday, ask again. In the evening, ask again. You may notice that you are still carrying something from hours earlier that no longer deserves your attention. Then you can consciously put it down. Think of this like carrying bags. If you picked up a heavy bag in the morning, you would not carry it all day if you no longer needed it. Yet mentally, people do this constantly. They carry arguments, they carry criticism, they carry embarrassment, they carry disappointment, they carry other people's moods. By evening, they feel exhausted and do not understand why. Your mind also needs moments where you put things down. Ask yourself, do I still need to carry this? Sometimes the answer will be yes, because something still needs action. But sometimes the answer will be no. Then allow yourself to release it. Another important lesson is to stop punishing the rest of the day because the beginning was difficult. Maybe you had a terrible morning, you overslept, rushed, argued with someone, and made a mistake. You may think the day is already lost. But the afternoon does not owe the morning anything. You can begin again at 11:37. You can begin again at 2:15. You can begin again at 6 in the evening. You do not need to wait until tomorrow to reset your mind. This is one of the most freeing ideas you can practice. A new beginning does not only happen when you wake up. It can happen in the middle of a sentence. It can happen after an argument. It can happen after a mistake. It can happen when you notice that you have been thinking negatively for 2 hours and decide not to continue. Every moment contains the possibility of a reset. Buddhist mindfulness is built around returning. Your mind wanders, and you return. Anger takes over, and you return. Fear pulls you into the future, and you return. The practice is not about never losing your peace. The practice is about becoming better at returning to it. This removes a lot of pressure. You do not need to become perfectly calm. You simply need to notice sooner when you have been pulled away from calmness. Maybe in the past one comment ruined your entire day. Now it ruins 1 hour. Later, perhaps it will ruin 10 minutes. That is progress. The goal is not emotional perfection. It is faster recovery and deeper awareness. You can also ask yourself one simple question when something goes wrong. What does this moment need from me? Maybe it needs patience. Maybe it needs action. Maybe it needs silence. Maybe it needs an apology. Maybe it needs a boundary. Maybe it simply needs to be left alone. This question is much more useful than asking, "Why is this happening to me?" The first question moves you forward. The second can trap you in resistance. When you begin treating difficult moments as individual moments, rather than proof that life is against you, you become much more resilient. You stop creating a chain from one negative event to another. Something happens. You respond. You learn. You release. Then you move into the next moment without forcing it to carry the emotional weight of the previous one. That is a powerful way to live. At the beginning of every day, understand that something may go wrong. That is simply part of being alive. You may experience a delay, misunderstanding, mistake, disappointment, or unexpected change. But you can make one decision before any of it happens. One difficult moment will not be allowed to own the whole day. You can feel what you need to feel. You can solve what needs to be solved. You can learn what needs to be learned, and then you can continue. Your morning may begin badly and still become a peaceful afternoon. Your afternoon may become difficult and still end with a calm evening. One conversation may hurt without destroying your relationships. One mistake may teach you without defining you. One disappointment may close one path without closing every path. This is the deeper peace you are trying to build. Not a life where nothing goes wrong, but a mind that no longer gives every problem unlimited power. When something difficult happens today, remind yourself that this is one moment inside a much larger day. Take care of the moment, but do not make it bigger than it is. Do not carry it into places where it does not belong. Do not give it to people who had nothing to do with it. Do not turn it into a judgment about your entire life. Let the moment come. Let it teach you what it can. Let it pass. And when the next moment arrives, meet it as something new. 9. Stop starting the day by fighting yourself. One of the quietest ways to destroy your peace in the morning is to begin the day by criticizing yourself. Before anyone else says anything to you, your own mind may already be attacking you. You look at your life and think you should be further ahead. You remember something you did wrong and call yourself foolish. You look in the mirror and focus only on what you dislike. You think about unfinished work, missed opportunities, bad decisions, or habits you still have not changed, and within minutes you are already speaking to yourself in a way you would never speak to someone you care about. This kind of inner conflict can become so normal that you stop noticing it. You wake up and immediately think, I am behind. I am wasting time. I should be doing better. Why am I still like this? These thoughts may sound like motivation, but when repeated every morning, they can slowly weaken your confidence and disturb your peace. There is a difference between recognizing that you need to improve and treating yourself like an enemy because you are not perfect yet. Buddhist wisdom encourages awareness without unnecessary judgment. You can look honestly at your mistakes without hating yourself for making them. You can recognize weakness without deciding that you are weak as a person. You can see that something needs to change without believing that your entire life is a failure. Awareness helps you improve, but harsh self-judgment often keeps you trapped in the same emotional patterns. Many people believe that being hard on themselves will make them stronger. They think that if they criticize themselves enough, they will finally become disciplined, successful, or perfect. But constant self-criticism often does the opposite. It can make simple problems feel heavier. It can make you afraid of trying because every mistake becomes another reason to attack yourself. It can make you compare yourself constantly because you are always searching for proof that you are not doing enough. Imagine beginning every morning with someone standing beside your bed saying, "You are not doing enough. You are too slow. Look how much better everyone else is. You should have fixed your life by now." You would probably want to leave that person as quickly as possible. But sometimes that voice is coming from inside your own mind, which means there is nowhere to run from it. This is why inner peace requires changing the way you speak to yourself. You do not have to become your own biggest admirer or pretend everything you do is perfect. You simply need to become fair. If you made a mistake, describe the mistake clearly instead of insulting yourself. Say, "I handled that badly," rather than, "I am a terrible person." Say, "I need to become more disciplined," rather than, "I am useless." Say, "I am still learning," rather than, "I will never get this right." The difference may seem small, but it changes your relationship with yourself. One way of speaking creates shame. The other creates responsibility. Shame says, there is something wrong with who you are. Responsibility says, there is something you can improve in what you do. Responsibility gives you somewhere to go. This is especially important in the morning because the way you speak to yourself early can shape how you respond to everything else during the day. If you begin by feeling disappointed in yourself, then one small problem can feel like confirmation that you are failing. You make one mistake at work and think, "Of course I messed this up." Someone does not respond to you and you think, "Maybe I am not important." You see another person's success and immediately use it against yourself. When the mind has already decided that you are not enough, it can turn almost anything into evidence. You have to interrupt this habit. When you notice harsh self-talk in the morning, ask yourself, would I say this to someone I genuinely wanted to help? If the answer is no, change the language. This does not mean becoming soft about everything. Sometimes you need to tell yourself clearly that a habit must change. Sometimes you need discipline. Sometimes you need to admit that you wasted time, avoided responsibility, treated someone badly, or made a poor decision. But truth does not require cruelty. You can tell yourself, "I need to do better," without saying, "I am worthless." You can say, "That decision was wrong," without saying, "Everything about me is wrong." You can admit, "I have been avoiding this," without deciding that you are incapable of change. This kind of honesty is stronger because it leads toward action instead of self-hatred. Another reason people fight themselves in the morning is because they compare today's version of themselves with an imaginary perfect version. You may believe you should wake up full of energy every day, always feel motivated, never make mistakes, never procrastinate, always be calm, always know what to do, and never feel uncertain. But no human being lives like that. Some mornings you will feel focused, other mornings you will feel tired. Sometimes you will make good decisions. Sometimes you will recognize later that you could have chosen better. Growth does not mean becoming perfect. Growth means becoming more aware and making better choices more often. If you demand perfection from yourself, you may never feel peaceful because there will always be something you could have done better. You finish 5 important tasks and criticize yourself for the 6th one you did not complete. You improve greatly in one area and immediately focus on another weakness. You make progress for months and then have one difficult week and decide you have lost everything. The mind can become very unfair when it is obsessed with perfection. Try looking at your progress more honestly. Think about who you were 1 year ago. There may be things that once disturbed you deeply that you now handle more calmly. There may be decisions you would not make anymore. There may be people you no longer chase. There may be situations you now recognize faster. There may be habits you have improved, even if they are not perfect. Growth often happens quietly. It may not feel dramatic because you experience yourself every day. Someone who has not seen you for years may notice changes that you barely recognize. This is why it is useful to occasionally look backward, not to live in the past, but to see how far you have come. If you only look at the distance between where you are and where you want to be, you may always feel behind. Sometimes you also need to notice the distance between where you are and where you started. That can create gratitude instead of constant pressure. Another form of fighting yourself is regretting the person you used to be. You remember old choices and think, how could I have been so foolish? You may feel embarrassed about relationships you stayed in, opportunities you missed, money you wasted, things you said, or years you believe you lost. But remember something important. You made many of those decisions with the level of awareness you had at the time. Today you can see them differently because you have learned something since then. It is easy to judge your old self using wisdom that your old self did not yet have. You may look back and think, I should have known better. But sometimes you could not have known better until life taught you. This does not remove responsibility. If you hurt someone, take responsibility. If you made a mistake, learn from it. But after the lesson has been understood, continuing to punish yourself does not make you wiser. At some point, regret must become instruction. Ask yourself, what did that experience teach me? Maybe it taught you to set better boundaries. Maybe it taught you not to trust words without looking at actions. Maybe it taught you to save money. Maybe it taught you to take your health seriously. Maybe it taught you to stop ignoring your intuition. If the lesson has already changed the way you live, then the pain has already given you something useful. You do not need to keep hurting yourself to prove that you learned. Another important lesson is to stop judging your entire life based on one season. You may be going through a period where things feel slow, confusing, lonely, or uncertain. That does not mean your entire life will feel this way. A season is not a lifetime. You may not have the energy today that you had a few months ago. Maybe you have been under pressure. Maybe you are recovering from disappointment. Maybe you are rebuilding something. During these periods, comparing yourself to your strongest version can create unnecessary shame. You may think, why am I not as productive as I used to be? Maybe because your life is different right now. Instead of immediately attacking yourself, become curious. Ask, what is happening inside me? What do I need to understand? What needs attention? Curiosity is often more useful than criticism. Criticism says, what is wrong with me? Curiosity asks, what is causing this, and what can I do about it? One creates shame, the other creates understanding. This is a much healthier way to approach your mind in the morning. Suppose you have been procrastinating. Instead of calling yourself lazy, ask why. Maybe the task feels overwhelming. Maybe you do not know where to begin. Maybe you are afraid of failing. Maybe your body is tired. Maybe you have too many responsibilities competing for attention. Once you understand the cause, You can respond more intelligently. You can make the task smaller. You can remove distractions. You can ask for help. You can rest if rest is actually needed. You can deal with the fear underneath the avoidance. Calling yourself lazy may feel simple, but it does not always solve the real problem. The same is true with anxiety. If you wake up anxious, do not immediately become angry with yourself for feeling that way. Telling yourself, "I should not feel like this," adds another layer of suffering. Now you are anxious, and you are also upset that you are anxious. Instead, recognize the feeling. Say, "My mind is unsettled this morning." Then ask what might help. Maybe you need to slow down. Maybe you need to stop checking your phone. Maybe you need to write down what you are worried about. Maybe you need to take one practical action. Maybe you simply need time for the feeling to pass. You can work with an emotion more effectively when you are not fighting yourself for having it. This is one of the deeper ideas in Buddhist practice. Resistance can increase suffering. When discomfort appears, the mind often immediately says, "I do not want this. This should not be here. Make it stop." Sometimes that struggle becomes more painful than the original feeling. Instead, you can practice saying, "This is what I am feeling right now. It will change." This creates space. You are no longer making the emotion your enemy. You are observing it. You may notice sadness without becoming a sad person. You may notice fear without deciding you are weak. You may notice anger without believing you must act from it. You may notice insecurity without treating every insecure thought as truth. Your feelings are experiences passing through you. They are not permanent definitions of who you are. Another way people fight themselves is through constant comparison with other people's timelines. You see someone younger than you succeeding, and suddenly your own progress feels meaningless. You see someone buying a house, getting married, building a business, traveling, becoming healthier, or achieving something you want, and your mind says, "I should already be there." But there is different for everyone. You do not know what advantages, struggles, opportunities, sacrifices, or timing shaped another person's life. Comparing two lives without knowing the full story is rarely fair. More importantly, comparison often makes you forget that another person's progress does not take anything away from you. Their success does not make your future smaller. Their opportunity does not mean your opportunities are gone. Their speed does not define your speed. When you wake up, return to your own path. Ask yourself, what is my next useful step? Not, how do I catch up with everyone? There is no everyone. There are billions of people living different lives. Trying to keep up with all of them is impossible. Peace comes when you understand that your responsibility is not to win an imaginary race. Your responsibility is to live your own life with awareness. Another important habit is to forgive yourself for not knowing everything. You will make decisions with incomplete information. You will sometimes trust the wrong person. You will sometimes choose something and later realize another choice would have been better. This is part of life. Wisdom develops because you do not know everything at the beginning. If you already knew every lesson, you would not need experience. Sometimes mistakes are the price of understanding. This does not mean you should repeat the same mistakes carelessly. Learn as much as you can, pay attention, become wiser. But when you discover that you were wrong, correct your direction rather than spending years insulting the person who made the wrong turn. If you are driving somewhere and realize you took the wrong road, you do not repair the problem by stopping the car and screaming at yourself for an hour. You turn around. Life often requires the same response. Recognize, adjust, continue. This is much more useful than endless self-punishment. You should also become aware of the standards you use to measure your worth. Many people only feel good about themselves when they are productive. If they work hard, they feel valuable. If they rest, they feel guilty. If they accomplish something, they feel proud. If they have an unproductive day, they feel worthless. But your value as a human being cannot depend entirely on how much you produce. There will be days when you need rest. There will be periods when life slows down. There may be times when your main job is simply to recover, learn, or get through something difficult. Rest is not automatically laziness. Sometimes rest is what allows discipline to continue. The important thing is awareness. Rest intentionally rather than escaping from your life. And when it is time to work, work honestly. Balance is stronger than constantly forcing yourself until you burn out. Morning peace becomes much easier when you stop treating every day like an examination you must pass. You are not waking up to prove your worth. You are waking up to live. There will be things to do, responsibilities to handle, and goals worth pursuing, but you do not need to begin by placing yourself on trial. Try beginning the morning with a different attitude. Instead of asking, "What is wrong with me?" ask, "What can I take care of today?" Instead of saying, "I am so far behind," say, "I can take one step from where I am." Instead of thinking, "I should already be better," remind yourself, "I am still learning." These are not excuses, they are calmer ways of dealing with reality. You may also find that being kinder to yourself makes you kinder to other people. When you are constantly attacking yourself internally, you may become more impatient with the weaknesses of others. You may judge quickly because you also judge yourself quickly. But when you understand that humans are imperfect, learning, changing beings, you become more patient. You still have boundaries. You still recognize harmful behavior, but you stop expecting perfection from everyone around you because you have stopped demanding impossible perfection from yourself. Compassion begins to become more natural. This does not mean tolerating repeated harm. Compassion and boundaries can exist together. You can understand why someone behaves badly and still decide not to allow that behavior in your life. The same is true with yourself. Self-compassion does not mean allowing every bad habit to continue. You can understand why you developed a habit and still decide to change it. You can forgive yourself and still become more disciplined. You can accept yourself and still improve. These ideas are not opposites. In fact, real change often becomes easier when you stop wasting so much energy on self-hatred. Think about how much mental energy is used by criticism. You replay mistakes. You compare. You imagine where you should be. You think about what others may think of you. That energy could be used to actually improve your life. Instead of spending an hour thinking, "I am undisciplined," use 10 minutes to plan your day and begin one task. Instead of spending the morning criticizing your body, take a walk, prepare healthier food, or make one choice that supports your health. Instead of regretting years of poor financial decisions, make one better decision today. Action creates change. Self-hatred mostly creates exhaustion. This is why peace and improvement can exist together. A peaceful mind is not a passive mind. It is a mind that sees clearly enough to act without unnecessary inner violence. When you wake up tomorrow, notice how quickly your mind begins judging you. You may be surprised. Maybe the first judgment comes when you see the time. "I woke up too late." Then you look in the mirror. "I look terrible." Then you think about your work. "I am behind." Then you check your phone and see someone doing well. "My life is going nowhere." Within 15 minutes, you have created an entire story against yourself. Interrupt it. Take one breath and return to facts. Maybe you woke up later than planned. Fine. What can you do with the time that remains? Maybe you do not feel your best today. Fine. Take care of yourself. Maybe there is unfinished work. Fine. Choose the most important task and begin. Reality is usually much simpler than self-criticism makes it. Your mind may want to turn every problem into a judgment of your character. Do not let it. Some things are simply problems that need solutions. If your room is messy, clean it. If you missed a deadline, Communicate and correct what you can. If you have been avoiding exercise, start with a short walk. If you wasted yesterday, use today better. You do not need to create an identity crisis around every mistake. Another thing to release is embarrassment about being a beginner. Sometimes people criticize themselves because they are not immediately good at something new. You start learning a skill and compare yourself to someone who has practiced for 10 years. You begin exercising and compare your body to someone who has trained for years. You start a business and compare your first month to someone else's 10th year. Then you feel inadequate. Allow yourself to be new. Allow yourself to be awkward. Allow yourself to learn slowly. Every person who is skilled at something once did it badly. Growth requires accepting periods where you are not impressive yet. If your ego cannot tolerate being a beginner, you will avoid many opportunities that could eventually transform your life. A peaceful mind does not need to look perfect during the learning process. It simply keeps learning. You should also stop using bad mornings as proof that you are returning to old habits. Maybe you have been working on your mindset for months, and then one morning you wake up angry, anxious, or negative. Do not immediately think, "I have lost all my progress." Progress is not a straight line. You can improve and still have difficult days. You can become calmer and still lose your temper sometimes. You can become more confident and still feel insecure in certain moments. One difficult morning does not erase months of growth. Notice what happened, learn from it, and continue. Sometimes growth is not visible in whether a negative feeling appears. It is visible in what you do after it appears. Maybe fear still comes, but you recover faster. Maybe anger still comes, but you speak less harshly. Maybe comparison still appears, but you recognize it sooner. Maybe an old memory still hurts, but you no longer allow it to control your whole day. That is growth. Do not ignore it simply because you have not reached perfection. Perfection is not the goal. Awareness is. You are learning to see your thoughts, habits, reactions, and emotions more clearly. With clearer awareness, better choices become possible. And with repeated better choices, your life slowly changes. This is why your morning should not become a courtroom where you put yourself on trial every day. Let it become a place where you meet yourself honestly. Ask what needs attention. Acknowledge what is going well. Notice what needs improvement. Then begin. No insults are required. No comparison is required. No hatred is required. The day will already bring enough challenges. You do not need to become another challenge for yourself. Become the person inside your own mind who helps you respond wisely. When you make a mistake, correct yourself. When you are tired, understand what your body needs. When you become fearful, calm yourself. When you become distracted, guide your attention back. When you succeed, appreciate the effort without becoming arrogant. When you fail, take the lesson without turning against yourself. This is a much more peaceful way to grow. The world may criticize you sometimes. People may misunderstand you. Someone may reject you. Plans may fail. Those experiences are difficult enough without carrying an additional voice inside your head that agrees with every negative thing that happens. Protect your inner world. You should be able to return to yourself without entering another battle. When the morning begins, do not immediately ask whether you are good enough. Do not measure your life against everyone else's. Do not open yesterday's mistakes and punish yourself again. Do not expect yourself to wake up as a perfect version of who you want to become. Simply begin where you are. Notice this morning. Notice your state of mind. Choose one thing you can improve. Choose one thing you can appreciate. Choose one thing you can release. Then move into the day without fighting yourself. A peaceful morning does not require you to believe that everything about your life is perfect. It requires you to stop turning every imperfection into a reason to dislike yourself. You can be unfinished and still deserve peace. You can be learning and still respect yourself. You can have weaknesses and still recognize your strength. You can regret something and still forgive yourself enough to move forward. When you stop wasting the morning fighting the person you were yesterday, you finally have more energy to become the person you want to be today. Every morning is a new beginning, but a peaceful morning does not happen automatically. You have to protect it. You have to become careful about what you allow into your mind, what thoughts you continue feeding, what memories you keep carrying, and how much power you give to people, problems, and situations around you. If you wake up and immediately return to yesterday's pain, tomorrow's fears, other people's opinions, and your own self-criticism, the day can feel heavy before it has even truly started. But you can choose a different way. You can wake up and remind yourself that yesterday is finished. Whatever happened has already happened. You can learn from it, correct what you can, apologize if necessary, forgive where possible, and then allow yourself to move forward. You do not need to keep punishing yourself for things that cannot be changed. You do not need to replay every painful conversation. You do not need to carry old anger into a new morning. The past can teach you without controlling you. You can also learn to stop believing every thought that appears in your mind. Some thoughts come from fear, some come from insecurity, some are simply old habits that have been repeated so many times that they feel true. A thought may tell you that something bad is about to happen, that you are not good enough, that someone is judging you, or that your future will go wrong. But thoughts are not always facts. You can notice them without following them. You can say, "This is fear speaking," and continue with your day. You can say, "This is only a thought," and allow it to pass. The more you practice this, the more peaceful your mind becomes, because you stop allowing every thought to become a command. Your morning also becomes calmer when you stop giving your first attention to the world. You do not need to wake up and immediately check messages, social media, news, arguments, or other people's lives. Your mind deserves a few quiet moments before everyone else enters it. Give yourself time to breathe. Drink your water slowly. Sit in silence. Stretch your body. Look outside. Notice the morning. Allow yourself to wake up before you begin reacting. Even a short period of calm can change the emotional direction of your entire day. And when your mind begins creating problems that have not happened yet, return to what is real. You do not have to solve tomorrow this morning. You do not have to suffer through situations that may never happen. You do not need every answer before taking the next step. Ask yourself, what is actually happening right now? Most of the time, the present moment is much easier to handle than the future your fear is creating. If there is something you can do, do it. If there is nothing you can do yet, let the future remain where it belongs. Do not spend today's peace paying for tomorrow's uncertainty. You will also meet people who carry their own stress, anger, insecurity, and frustration. Some will speak carelessly. Some may misunderstand you. Some may bring negativity into your day. Remember that you do not have to absorb everything people bring toward you. Someone else's mood does not have to become your mood. Someone else's anger does not have to become your anger. Someone else's opinion does not have to become your identity. You can listen without absorbing. You can respond without losing control. You can set boundaries without hatred. You can walk away without carrying the situation in your mind for the rest of the day. This is real emotional strength. It is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming stable. You can still care deeply without allowing everything to disturb you deeply. You can still be kind without giving everyone control over your peace. Life will also continue changing your plans. Things will not always go your way. People will disappoint you. Some opportunities will not work out. Some days will move completely differently from what you expected. Do not make your peace depend on perfect conditions. Instead of saying, "This should not be happening," learn to ask, "This is happening, so what is the wisest thing I can do now?" That question can change everything. You stop fighting reality and begin working with it. You become more flexible. You learn that a changed plan is not always a ruined plan. A delay is not always a disaster. A rejection is not always the end. A difficult moment does not automatically mean a difficult life. Sometimes life changes direction before you understand why. Sometimes what feels like a disappointment becomes a lesson. Sometimes what leaves creates room for something healthier. You do not have to understand everything immediately. You only need enough calmness to take the next step. Gratitude can help you remember this. Before beginning your morning by thinking about everything you still want, notice what you already have. Your life may not be perfect, but there are still things worth appreciating. Another morning has arrived. You are still here. You still have time to change something. You still have the ability to learn. You may still have someone who cares about you. You may have food, water, shelter, health, knowledge, or opportunities that have become so familiar that you barely notice them anymore. Do not wait until something disappears before you recognize its value. Gratitude does not mean you stop wanting a better life. It means you stop treating your current life as worthless while building one. You can want more and still appreciate what is here. You can work toward the future without rejecting the present. You can have goals without making happiness depend entirely on reaching them. This balance creates a much calmer form of ambition. When something goes wrong during the day, remember not to give one bad moment control over every moment that follows. A difficult morning can still become a peaceful afternoon. One rude person does not represent everyone. One mistake does not define your ability. One delay does not mean everything is going wrong. Do not say, "The whole day is ruined," when only one part of it was difficult. Give yourself permission to begin again at any time. You do not have to wait until tomorrow. You can reset your mind at noon. You can reset after an argument. You can reset after a mistake. You can reset after an hour of overthinking. Every moment gives you another opportunity to return to yourself. This may be one of the most important lessons of all. Peace is not about never becoming disturbed. You will still have emotions. You will still become angry sometimes. You may still worry. You may still feel disappointed, tired, insecure, or afraid. The practice is learning how to return. Your mind wanders, and you return. Fear appears, and you return. Someone upsets you, and you return. You begin comparing yourself, and you return. You remember yesterday, and you return. You start worrying about tomorrow, and you return. The more often you return, the less power these things have over you. And perhaps the deepest peace comes when you stop beginning the day by fighting yourself. You do not need to wake up and immediately judge everything about your life. You do not have to insult yourself because you are still learning. You do not have to compare your progress with someone else's timeline. You are allowed to be unfinished. You are allowed to still be learning. You are allowed to make mistakes and correct them. You are allowed to have difficult days without deciding that you have lost all your progress. Speak to yourself with honesty, but also with patience. If something needs to change, change it. If you made a mistake, learn from it. If you need discipline, practice discipline. But do not believe that cruelty toward yourself is required for growth. You can improve without hating yourself. You can become stronger without attacking yourself. You can take responsibility without carrying shame forever. When you stop fighting yourself internally, you have much more energy to deal with life externally. This is what a peaceful mind begins to look like. It is not empty. It is not perfect. It does not avoid reality. It simply knows what deserves attention and what deserves release. A peaceful mind can see a negative thought without becoming trapped inside it. A peaceful mind can hear criticism without immediately losing confidence. A peaceful mind can experience a changed plan without believing the whole day is ruined. A peaceful mind can feel fear without allowing fear to make every decision. A peaceful mind can remember the past without living there. A peaceful mind can think about the future without trying to control every detail. This kind of peace is built slowly. It is built through small choices repeated every day. Choosing not to check your phone immediately. Choosing not to replay an argument. Choosing to pause before reacting. Choosing not to compare. Choosing to take one breath before speaking. Choosing to let one unnecessary thought pass. Choosing to forgive yourself. Choosing to appreciate something simple. These choices may seem small, but when repeated, they begin changing the way your mind responds to life. Eventually, you may notice that situations that once disturbed you for hours now disturb you for minutes. People who once controlled your mood no longer have the same power. Thoughts that once frightened you no longer feel completely true. You recover faster. You react less. You understand more. That is growth. Do not wait for a life with no problems before becoming peaceful. Such a life may never arrive. There will always be something unfinished, uncertain, changing, or imperfect. Build your peace inside the life you actually have. Learn to sit peacefully even when not everything is solved. Learn to smile even while you are still growing. Learn to rest without needing every question answered. Learn to trust yourself enough to meet tomorrow when tomorrow arrives. When you wake up each morning, you do not know exactly what the day will bring. There may be beautiful moments and difficult ones. There may be good news and disappointment. Someone may surprise you. Something may change unexpectedly. But before any of that happens, you can decide how you want to meet the day. You can begin with awareness instead of fear. You can begin with gratitude instead of comparison. You can begin with acceptance instead of resistance. You can begin with silence instead of noise. You can begin with kindness toward yourself instead of criticism. Then, when life becomes busy, return to these things again and again. Remember that not everything deserves a reaction. Not every thought deserves belief. Not every argument deserves your participation. Not every person deserves access to your peace. Not every mistake deserves endless punishment. Not every problem deserves to be carried all day. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is simply let something pass. Morning after morning, practice releasing what is unnecessary and giving your attention to what actually matters. Your breath, your actions, your choices, your character, your peace. This is where your real power exists. You cannot control everything that enters your day, but you can become more careful about what you allow to remain inside your mind. So tomorrow morning, before the world becomes loud, give yourself a moment. Do not rush into yesterday. Do not rush into tomorrow. Do not immediately enter someone else's life through your phone. Sit with the morning you actually have. Notice that you are breathing. Notice that you have another opportunity. Whatever happened before this morning does not have to decide what happens inside you today. Whatever may happen later does not need to disturb you now. Begin again. Carry the lessons, but leave the unnecessary weight. Protect your attention. Watch your thoughts. Stay close to the present moment. Release what you cannot control. Be grateful for what remains. Forgive yourself for being human. And when something tries to disturb your peace, remember that you always have the ability to return. Return to your breath. Return to awareness. Return to what is real. Return to yourself. That is how you wake up with a peaceful mind. That is how you clear toxic thoughts before they control the day. And that is how, little by little, you build a mind that can move through an imperfect world without allowing every passing thing to disturb the peace within you.